So for this one, I'm just going to go over a couple of things that have come out about GTA 6 over the last few days. Nothing massive on its own, but when you put it together, it really does start to feel like something could be building up again. What are you saying, everyone? I hope you're good. So we've got the ex-Rockstar developer updating the CV with some interesting details, and at the same time, the April conversation has started picking up again. And just to say this early on, none of this is confirmed, and obviously only Rockstar know what's actually going on along with Take-Two, but there are a few things worth talking about. So first, we got the Rockstar ex-employee updated their CV and mentioned working on Procedural Glass for GTA 6. And this is one of those things that doesn't sound massive at first, but when you actually think about it, it does become quite interesting. Up to now, obviously the glass in GTA has just been fairly standard. You hit it, you shoot it, and you can crash through it, and it breaks, but pretty much in the same way each time with a preset animation. Now for Procedural Glass, this suggests something completely different. It suggests that instead of having one fixed animation, the way the glass breaks could actually generate in real time. So depending on things like the angle of the impact, the force that it actually hits it, you could get completely different results every time. And it might sound small, but it changes the way the world would react to you. Instead of repeating the same animation over and over, the game's responding to what you're doing in the moment. And I think that's where Rockstar games always stand out. It's not just about how things look, it's about how they behave. And if you think about how this could apply across the game, shop windows, buildings, interiors, car windshields, suddenly all the interactions will become a lot less predictable. And even something like police chases or a shootout could feel different each time, down to something as small as this, because the environment's reacting differently. Again, it's not a headline feature, but it's one of those details that just really adds up. And if you combine this with everything else Rockstar usually does, it's all this coming together that's just going to create that sense of immersion. And I think the more important part is not really about the feature itself, but just where it could point towards where development is right now. And when you start seeing very specific technical details being mentioned like this, it seems to me the foundation of the game is clearly already there. The map, the core gameplay, the structure already built. And what they're doing now is just refining things, adding depth and making the systems feel more natural and less repetitive. You look at Rockstar's previous games, that's where they've always separated themselves. Red Dead 2 wasn't just big, it just felt really alive because of the amount of attention to detail that was poured into it. They'd obviously gone over it again and again, the NPC behaviour, environmental reactions, and all the small systems working together. That's what made it stand out. And this feels like a continuation of that. We're going to get more dynamic systems, more variation, more responsiveness. Even though something like Procedural Glass sounds small, it's going to be part of a much bigger system, and it really shows the direction they're going in. And also to mention, if this person has moved on from Rockstar and he worked on the Procedural Glass, then that's at least one system that's potentially finished, polished and done. Now alongside that, the April conversation has started to come up again. And like I said, I've already done a full video on this, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. But what's interesting now is what started this to build up again. Initially, this was coming from TGG and GameRiot. And GameRiot also mentioned that he'd heard it from a few people in the press and publishers. Now again, nothing's confirmed, and this is just people's opinions, unless there is something behind the scenes that, you know, we haven't been told. So none of that has changed, but what has changed now is Cyber Boi's already recently come out and spoke about this. And again, he made it also clear that none of this is confirmed, and nobody outside Rockstar actually knows what's happening. But he did mention that multiple people had reached out to him privately about April, not necessarily a trailer, but just so that something could be happening. Now, it doesn't suddenly make it true. And Cyber Boi did mention the only difference between him is the fact that, you know, he's recording his words down, whereas a lot of people don't do that. But now it's just not one claim anymore. It's multiple conversations happening at the same time, all pointing in a similar direction. And Cyber Boi mentioned that, you know, there's too many coming in for him to ignore it, basically. And it either means that people are feeding into each other or that there could be something brewing behind the scenes. But right now, it's just hard to say which one it is. So when you take this together, you've got the small real details like the Procedural Glass, which show the development is still moving forward at a very detailed level. And at the same time, you've got the April conversation building up again. On its own, you know, I wouldn't take the April stuff too seriously. We're always getting rumours like this. But I think what makes this different is the amount of people saying it and how it is actually now approaching the time where we are all expecting Rockstar to talk. So we've got multiple conversations across different places all happening at the same time. And again, this doesn't confirm anything, but it does make it feel like we could be entering that phase again where things start to build up. And at the end of the day, there's nothing here that confirms anything. There's no guarantee we'll get something in April, but at the same time, it doesn't feel random. And it feels like we could potentially be starting to move into that stage either way. Even if it's not April, it's more than likely going to be May or June. So Even if the April rumour doesn't pan out to be true, we are still very, very close. We're right on the edge of the conversation starting to pick up again. And everything is just starting to feel a bit more active. And whether that leads to something in April or whether it leads to it in May or even later, we're just going to have to wait to find out. But let me know what you think. Do you think April actually makes sense this time? Or do you think it's just one of those cycles where people are just reading too much into it and there's just a lot of speculation behind the scenes? Or do you think there's more that these guys aren't actually letting us know and that they'll come out and say afterwards if it does turn out to be true? But I know one thing for sure, over the next few weeks and months, rumours are going to start piling up. And one thing I wanted to address as well was the NPC rumour that was going around. There was a post posted with a big list of apparent potential leaks. This is something that we just need to completely ignore. I think it came from a random Reddit post. Nothing's verified whatsoever. So things like that we can safely ignore. But if you do enjoy the video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.